I talk about the grace of God a lot. I make videos about it, and I've had a lot of people that have gotten upset and called me a heretic and a false teacher because of it. The very definition of grace is that you're getting something you don't deserve. There's absolutely no limit to it. If there is a limit on it, that means it was never grace to begin with. That means that once you're saved, it's impossible for you to out-sin the grace of God. Like no matter how much you sin, there's always more grace than your sin, which is exactly what Romans 5:20 says. 2 Corinthians 5:21 says that God made Jesus, who knew no sin, to become sin for us so that we can become the righteousness of God. The moment you're born again, you receive the righteousness of Jesus Christ. For the rest of your life, God never again sees you as a guilty sinner. He sees you with the righteousness of Jesus. All of your sin, past, present, and future, is completely wiped out. All the guilt for all of it is gone. Now, what people get hung up on when I say that stuff, they're like, well, if you're just going to abuse grace and you're going to go on sinning willy-nilly and you're trying to use it to sin however you want, then you were never really saved. And then they usually go on and tell me I'm a false teacher and I'm spreading lies and I'm leading people to hell. Here's the thing. When you get saved and you enter into the grace of God, one of the things the Bible talks about extensively is how God gives you a new heart and a new nature that no longer wants to live in sin. Someone who's under grace isn't trying to figure out how much they can sin and get away with. They're trying to avoid sin altogether. Romans 7 tells us that once we're saved, we have this new nature, this new spirit that desires to live in obedience to God, but our human nature still tags along and is trying to get us to sin. Like it desires sin, even though we don't really want to live in sin. 1 Peter 2:11 says, "Brethren, I beg you as sojourners and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul." It's telling us that that human nature that's tagging along is strategizing to try and get us to give into sin because it still wants sin. And what we see back in Romans 7 is that there's times when we're going to give in. Like it's going to be a constant battle your entire life. Now, I'm not saying like it's a struggle like someone is drowning and they can't get their head above water, but it is a constant fight. The mistake that a lot of people make is trying to win that fight on their own apart from the help of God. Now, Hebrews 4:15 tells us that Jesus was tempted in every way we are, yet he never gave in to sin. The next verse says, "Therefore, let us go boldly to the throne of grace so that we can obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need." Philippians 2:12 and 13 says, "Work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for it's God who works in you, giving you the desire and the ability to do the things that please him." Are telling us that when you're struggling with sin, you don't try and clean yourself up in order to get close to God. When you get close to God, when you run boldly to him and tell him, "God, I'm struggling, this is going to wreck my life," that he will empower you supernaturally to overcome the sin you can't overcome. Grace means that in the middle of that struggle, God is never going to condemn you or turn you away or take your salvation.